Let's talk to Cuss. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to Cuss. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. It is the 19th of November. The month is over halfway through. I hope you all are gearing up for a celebratory holiday season. The holidays are upon us, y'all. Please, are you all ready? Let me just start there. Are you ready for the holidays? Are you ready for the holidays? Just in case somebody's stopping by for the first time, though, this is not a holiday broadcast. It's we usually spend some time talking about things that are motivational, things that are inspirational, things that challenge us to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. This is not a platform for pessimism. It's not a platform for somebody done me wrong. It's not that kind of platform. This is a platform where we come together. We spend about 1,800 seconds every Tuesday, and we just chit chat about real things, real people, real situations, and real life. And our goal is to make sure that we are empowered, we are strengthened, we are encouraged, we are motivated, and we are pushed to just keep going to do what we do. We are pushed and we are encouraged to grab somebody by the hand and say, this is not as good as it gets. There's a place in the space that's called better. Come on, my brother. Come on, my sister. Come on, my friend. Let's all go there together. There's room at the top for everybody. Let's just join hands and just get to where we're going. Because I want you to know this, that better doesn't have to happen 5 years from now. It really does not. It doesn't have to happen 5 weeks from now. Better happens when you say, it's possible. I can do better than this. This is not the end all be all. This is not the end of my circumstances. This is not the end of my situation, but there's a space and a place that I can go to, and that place is called better. And can I tell you that as soon as you believe that, as soon as you believe it in your heart and you receive that, then you are really on this road to better. You are on this space to this place that's called better. I believe it with all of my heart. And so I'm a proponent of saying, hey, this is not as good as it gets. There's a space and a place that's called better. And we need to strive for that every day, because sometimes people get to a point and they say, nope, this is it. And they just become exhausted and they give out and they give up and they run out of gas and they stop doing, they stop marching, they stop going, they stop thinking, they stop trying to think outside of the box, they stop becoming creative. And so I want to make sure that we are of the mindset that there's always something that is better than where I am. There's always something that is better than I am, and I have to strive to get there. I cannot settle for the status quo, not every single day. I get it. Sometimes, Cutler, I just feel like taking a break. Sometimes I feel like just being able to rest and take a respite and being able to exhale. I get it. I do too. But I want you all to understand that you have to get this, have this, be on this trajectory that says, hey, I'm going somewhere, and I've got some. There's a song, I've got some place to go, and I'm working, I'm going there. And so my Mary Mary, the song is just playing in my head. I got to get myself together because I got some place to go. And I'm hoping when I get there, praying when I get there, I see everyone I know. But I'm just not talking about heaven. I'm talking about even here on earth. Make sure that you have some place to go, somewhere that you want to get, and some victories that you want to achieve, some things that you want to obtain, some successes that you want to see manifested here. So let's talk about those, you all. Let's talk about how to show our best selves, even in the worst of situations, because heaven only knows that seems like we're having some of the worst situations these days in this this climate where we are. But my goal is to make sure that I'm not talking doom and gloom. My goal is to make sure that we are accountable, we are responsible, we are respectful, all those sorts of things. I'm going to shout out the LTDC VIPs, but before I do, let me just say thank you all to those of you who have been with me for the long haul. You've been with me for quite a while now. You all know we started this back during the pandemic, and we've been going strong. And I'm so thankful that you all are supportive, you are encouraging, and you're motivating me. I know you don't necessarily think you do, but when you show up, you are encouraging me. you're giving me reason, you're giving me purpose, but you're also giving me community, you're also giving me village. And so from the bottom of my heart, may I say thank you. And I get it, sometimes some of y'all say, I'm not able to be with you every week. That's okay. None of us are able to be with everybody all the time, but when you show up, you matter to me. So let me just say thank you for that. I don't take it for granted. So thank you for showing up and being a part of my village, being a part of my community, being a part of my circle, as I hope I'm a part of yours. All right. But tonight I really want to talk about this notion, this thing that's called accountability. But again, if you haven't done so, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to accountability, because accountability is not a cuss word. That's what I want to talk about. Go and tell somebody, come on and let's talk the color, because tonight that man is going to talk about the fact that accountability is not a cuss word. I know sometimes we have issues with accountability. We have problems with accountability. We can't be accountable to the goldfish, to the frog, to the turtle, to anybody, to the dog, to the cat, to anything, to anybody. So I'm telling y'all, accountability is not a cuss word. Do you know there are people who change their minds? They change their minds like they change their underwear. They change their mind. Color, did you really say that? Yes, I did. But but accountability is not a cuss word. Why do people have such problems with accountability? We're going to talk about it. Don't you all go anywhere. In fact, go and get someone that you know has a problem with accountability and tell them, come on, let's talk to Cutler. Meanwhile, let me just say this. If this is your first time tuning in, Cutler, just slow down. I can tell you're getting excited. But if this is your first time tuning in, do me a favor, you all, and go ahead and subscribe. Once you subscribe, click on the notification. I don't know where it is on your device. It could be down there, up there, over there, over there. I don't know where it is, but find it and click on it, because it will let you know whenever I've gone live or whenever I have uploaded new content. All right. And then the LTTC VIPs, I mean, you all have jumped into this chat this evening, and I am so glad to see you all. But the first three people that I see on my side, on my end, the first three that I see are Annie Cutler, Paula D, and Sonia Bailey. It's good to see all of you all again. And I see the rest of you too, and I see some of you who are on and you haven't even jumped into the chat yet, but come on in the chat. Listen, let me ask you all this. On a scale of 1 to 10, I need y'all to rate yourselves for just a moment. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not good at all, 1 is just being poor, but 10 is being absolutely excellent, absolutely great. How accountable are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is poor and 10 is excellent, how accountable are you? I want to know that, because I think that will form the basis of our conversation this evening, because I've just discovered, you all, that there are some people who consistently rank 2s and 3s, and even I'm afraid even to 1s, because people are afraid of accountability. I've run into more and more people who just they don't seem to want to be accountable. So I'm going to give you all a chance. I want to see you all chiming in and telling me how accountable you are on a scale of 1, from 1 to 10. I see T. Cutler says 9.5, not perfect, but I try my best to be a 10. Linda Martin says 9. Okay, you all talk to me. Talk to me, because to be accountable, it just means to be willing to answer to somebody that you trust and that you respect. It means that you're being responsible for what you do, and being able to give a satisfactory reason for what you do. I want you all to rate yourselves. I really do. And this is not to accountability shame anybody, but this is just for us to come into a realization of, wow, how accountable am I? How accountable am I? Do I answer to people that I trust? Am I responsible for what I do? And am I able to give satisfactory reasons for doing what I do? That means I have to be willing to open up about challenges and questions that come my way. I have to be willing to open up about the decisions that I make. I have to be willing to talk about those things. I have to be willing and able sometimes to listen in a very vulnerable way. It means that I have to go back to people that I say to whom I am accountable. That's what it means to be accountable. And it is the general notion that I am going to be responsible for my actions. And catch this piece, you all, I'm going to be responsible for my actions. And if I choose here we go. If I choose an unfavorable action, I have to understand that there are going to be possibly unfavorable consequences. I've got to be accountable. I've got to be accountable. It's taking responsibility for what I do. And here are some key questions that we then need to think about, you all. Who am I accountable to? Think about it. I don't want you to put that in there because I'm looking at these wonderful scores and ratings and how we're rating ourselves, and we have to ask ourselves, well, whom am I accountable to? Think about it. You don't have to put this in the chat, but I want you to ask yourself, who am I accountable to? And then ask yourself, who am I accountable for? Who am I accountable to? Who am I accountable for? Because when I think about who I am accountable to, or to whom I am accountable, but when I think about that, I think about the people that I'm accountable to. Those people, catch this, you all, those people are responsible for some aspect of my well-being. If I'm going to be accountable, if I am going to be accountable to you, that means you're going to be responsible for some aspect of my well-being. That means you have impact on my life. That means you have some kind of effect on my life, and it's just not on a surface level. I choose to be accountable to you. And ask yourself, who am I accountable to? Do those people really have impact on my life in more than just a superficial manner? Do I give them access to my life? Do I give them the license to my life that I don't give others? I choose who I'm accountable to. Because it has to be someone that I trust. It has to be someone that I respect. Well, let's pivot and let's turn this question on its heels then. Not only who am I accountable to, we need to think about that because, again, accountability is not a cuss word. That is really the conversation that we're talking about tonight because there's some people who just have issues with accountability. But not only must there be people that I'm accountable to, people who impact and affect my life just beyond the superficial or surface level, but there have to be people that I'm accountable for. Think about it. Every parent, think about every guardian. Think about it. There are people that I am accountable for. The tables are turned. I have some aspect that there is some responsibility that I have for some aspect of their well-being. I'm accountable for them. People who have sons and daughters and nieces and nephews and students and small ones or older relatives or people that you take care of, people that you assist, people that you help, you are accountable for them. You are to some degree responsible for some aspect of their well-being, and it's something that we must not take for granted. Accountability is not a cuss word. It's a word that challenges us. You know, I said one of the things that we talk about on this platform, we talk about work, we talk about inspiration and motivation and things that challenge us. These are the things that challenge us. It challenges us to be accountable. It challenges us to stand up to this level of responsibility. So if I'm accountable to somebody and I've given them the license, that means I have to be willing to answer to them because I trust them, because I respect them. It means that I have to be responsible for what I do. And when I'm responsible for what I do, it means that I'm willing to answer to them. It means I'm willing to sit with them. So when they question me and they say, Cutler, what did you do? Why did you do? What is going on, man? What's going on with your life? I must make it means I have to be able to sit there in a very vulnerable way and hear what they have to say to me. We sometimes have problems with that, but accountability, again, is not a cuss word. We got to be accountable to somebody. And then we got to be accountable for somebody. And may I say this, I dare say that the people that we're accountable for, we're also accountable to them. Think about it. It has to make sense. Every time I stepped into a classroom and with all my nieces and nephews and young people in my life, every time I was around them and I said to some degree, I'm accountable for them. What does it mean? It means that I took on the responsibility for some aspect of their well-being. And if I'm taking on some responsibility for some aspect of their well-being, it means that if I'm going to be accountable for them, I have to be accountable to them. It means that I have to say to them, I'm willing to pour into your life. When you see that I'm not meeting the standard, you have every right to question me. You have every right to question my actions. You have every right to call me to a conversation and say, Cutler, uncle, brother, what are you doing? Professor, what's going on? Because I'm accountable for them. I say I'm going to have an impact on their life. I'm going to mold their life to some degree. Sometimes they have to think about this. Why do people turn out a certain way? Because we've said we wanted to be accountable for them, but we weren't accountable to them. We watched them grow up. We watched them do what they do. And they went astray. And they deviated from the plan, from the course. And we kept saying, I'm accountable for them. But did we say I'm also accountable to them? I owe them. I owe them. I have the responsibility to model behavior, right behavior, ethical behavior. I have that responsibility. So I am accountable to them. And if I am accountable to them, then I can hold them to a standard whereby I'm accountable for them. I'm accountable for their actions because I've been accountable to them. I've shown them how it's done. I've shown them how it ought to turn out. That is the song and dance of every guardian, of every parent, of every caregiver. Right? And I want us to think about this. I want us to think about it because it bothers me that there are people who have this hypengiophobia. I know it's a fancy word, but it's hypengiophobia. It just means this abnormal fear of responsibility, this fear of accountability. There are people who just seem to be afraid of it for some reason. They'll make a decision today, they'll change their mind today, and they won't respond or answer for it anytime today. It means that you are committed. I'm committed to making it happen. I'm committed to doing right. I'm committed to seeing it turn out a certain way. That's really all it means. It means no matter what, I want to see this thing through. And we have to think about it from that perspective. I'm accountable. So that means I have to be committed to what I say. I have to be committed to what I promise. I have to be committed to what I suggest. I have to be committed to what I speak. I have to be committed to what I offer. Because if I vacillate, if I deviate from that without offering any kind of reason, any kind of rationale, any kind of excuse, it means that, or any kind of purpose, but behind it, I'm not being very accountable. We've got to be accountable. Who are you accountable to? Who are we accountable to? And then let's talk about how can I become more accountable, Cutler? Because wow, man, you're making me think. Am I really accountable to the people that I say I'm accountable to? Have I really given them the license and the authority to just, come into my life and say and do and hold me up to a certain standard. I say I'm accountable to them, but really, am I accountable to them? And then you ask me the question, who am I accountable for? Wow, am I really doing my part to make sure that if I'm accountable for them, for their well-being, for having an impact on their success, an impact on their victories, an impact on their wins, an impact on the things that they obtain, and the impact on the things that they attain in life, if I am responsible for them, have I modeled for them how to get it, how to do it? If I see failure in them, is it because I have not been accountable to them? Have I said I'm accountable for someone, but there's some things that I've just allowed? Because there's a saying, y'all, that what you allow, you condone, and what you condone, you create. Think about it. I'm just here to challenge us. There are some things that we see, and some people that we see, and things and people that we've talked about, and we say, oh, they're just a mess, and da da da, and all of that. And they're part of your village, a part of your extended family, sometimes a part of your nuclear family. And we've said all that, but we have to ask ourselves, wow, were there some things that I allowed? And in allowing those things that I suggest that I condone, did it suggest that I condone those things? And if I condone them, did it mean that I had a part in creating it? Accountability is not a cuss word, but this is a challenging word. The people that I now talk about, because to some degree I see that they didn't measure up, they didn't meet up, is a part of them not measuring up, and they're part of not a part of their not coming up to the standards. Is that a part of something that I had to do with? Have I become a part of the culture of accepting things, accepting bad behavior, accepting things that really didn't meet a standard that was set? Yvonne Jones, I see your comments. You're right. We've got to be more accountable. And then have you ever tried to hold people accountable? I'm going to show you what it looks like when people have issues and problems with accountability. And you all have probably encountered some of these situations. You've heard people say things like, "Who does he think he is?" When you're trying to hold someone accountable, or you're trying to call them into question, as it were. And they may not say this in front of the person, but you may hear them say it to you or to somebody else. Well, who does she think she is? Who does he think he is? I bet he's not perfect either. Or they say things like, well, no, listen, you need to worry about yourself. I mean, think about things like that. Those statements tend to come from people who struggle with accountability. Haven't you all heard people say things like that, who then try to project their lack of accountability onto you? That's called transference. People who have issues with accountability will engage in all kinds of irrational patterns. They won't focus on their own growth. They won't focus on their own way, their own trying to become strong, trying to become better. But what they'll do, instead of really opening themselves up to be vulnerable, to see, how can I become better? How can I become more mature? How can I become more successful? How can I grow? How can I do this? They'll put forth this air of confidence and competence. All the while, they're hiding this deep-rooted insecurity inside of them. That's people who struggle with accountability. Open yourself up for growth. Be vulnerable to hear so that you can grow. And people who struggle with accountability, when you try to hold them accountable, not only will they put forth this air of competence and confidence when they're really insecure inside, sometimes they have a notion, because misery loves company, they have a notion of trying to recruit other people to try to sabotage you, or just to dislike you. And they try to thwart the efforts of people that they may become jealous of, that kind of thing, or they may be intimidated by them. Misery loves company, and people who struggle with accountability will often recruit other people to try to sabotage somebody else's victories. I'm just pointing this out. I'm just pointing this out because I want us to be careful and stand up to accountability. One, let me be accountable for me. Let me be accountable to me. And if I'm going to be accountable to others, let me truly be accountable to others. And if I'm going to be accountable for others, let me truly be accountable for others. And if I don't measure up in the accountability factor, Cutler, thank you for challenging us this evening. Thank you for asking us, where do we stand on this whole notion of accountability, particularly when it comes to being committed to see it through, committed to my word, committed to my promise, committed to my promise to make sure that if I'm going to be a part of your village, listen, I'm in it with you for the long haul. I'm not going to put my hand to the plow and then take it back. When you try to call me into accountability, when I've said to you, yes, I'm going to be accountable to you, and then when you come to me, I'm not going to say to you, well, you did it too. I don't get to say that. I don't get to say, well, you're not perfect either. You make mistakes too. I don't get to say that. When I'm accountable to you, I don't get to say that. And I often tell my nieces and nephews and the young people in my life, you don't get to point out my shortcomings. You are accountable to me. When I'm correcting you, I'm telling you, this is just my mantra. When I'm talking to my young people, y'all can take this, do what you want to do with it. But when I'm talking to the young people in my life, I say to them, no. You don't get to say to me, well, you did it too. No, absolutely not. You don't get to say that. Not when I'm challenging you about being accountable. We can have that conversation later, but when I'm challenging you about being accountable, you don't get to say, well, you're not perfect either. Absolutely, you don't get to say that. You don't get to say, no, you just see it wrong. No. You don't get to play the reverse in the Uno game. We just don't get to do that. And we have to make sure this accountability is a big thing, because there are people who really are fearful of being accountable. And I tell you, I've wrestled with that, and it just baffles me that there are some people who are just so loose. They're just loose cannons in the area of accountability. They really are. And I don't know if it comes from a fear of some sort. I don't know if it's a fear of making mistakes, a fear of being exposed, a fear of failure. What I don't know where it comes from. But there are some ways that we can be more accountable. Let me just set some clear goals. Let me be specific in terms of what I want. Let me learn how to communicate my expectations. I'm talking about how to become more accountable. Let me be open to criticism, to be able to hear things that don't always sit well, but they make me grow. Let me practice being a little more honest and a little more transparent and a little more authentic. I'm talking about how to become more accountable. Maybe I can learn to apologize quickly, keep my mouth shut, and learn to apologize when I make a mistake. Maybe I can work on time management, because if I've promised you something, I've promised that person something, I've promised that person something, let me work on time management so that I can learn to keep my word. Maybe I can strive to know my limits, what I can do, what I can't do, what I can do on a Friday versus what I can do on a Monday through Wednesday. I'm talking about how to be more accountable, how to own up to accountability. Maybe I need to be open to change. And then maybe I need to learn how to embrace accountability from the people who are in my life. Because I don't know what happened, but here's the thing. I'm back. But let's even over these seasons, y'all, I'm so serious. Let's take this accountability thing to heart. Let's just take it to heart. And if we are not where we want in the accountability area, let's learn to get there. And let's embrace people in our lives who hold us accountable. Um, and I just wanted to have the conversation. Accountable means that I'm committed to what I say. I'm committed to you, and I allow you to be committed to me. I do what I say, and I say what I do. No matter what. All right. Let's keep doing what we do, you all. I know this conversation probably challenges us. Wow, Cutler. Yeah, this was more challenging than inspiring and motivating. It challenges me too. It does. But let's keep doing what we do. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Stay safe. Stay sane. Know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. I'm thankful that you all are a part of my village and a part of my community. Let's go ahead and get ready for the Thanksgiving season that's upon us. I'll have a chance to see you one more time before then, and I'll be able to wish you a happy Thanksgiving when I see you next week. But until then, come on, let's talk to Cutler. I'll see you the next time I see you. Good night.